Thank you, Francis, our chief guest. All of you here, all your important people, loving people, kind people who have come to grace our launch. One of the good things about getting old is that one does not have to be frightened when one speaks up. I'm reading a poem that I was very frightened of when it came out, when it was published. It was published a long time ago, long before some of you were born. Lagakali. And it was about my views of development, not only in Tonga, but around the Pacific. I wrote it when I was on maternity leave in the late 1970s. So you can see how very old I am. I got a lot of criticisms from my own people when this came out. And as one of my friends, well, he was a friend until he criticized me for writing Lagakali. And during one of my trips back to Tonga to run a workshop for teachers, I met him on the road and he said to me, "Konai, why do you keep on writing bad things about Tonga?" And I said, "Oh, why?" He said, "Well, you write all these poems like Lagakali, criticizing our development projects. You wrote about uncivil servants, criticizing us, civil servants." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry, but that's my story, and that's my perspective of Tonga. And if it doesn't apply to you, I beg your forgiveness, and you can continue what you're doing." Anyway, I want to warn you that some of the images in Lagakali refer specifically to Tonga and what was happening in Tonga in the late 70s, early 80s. There are references to the Sunday law, where one is not allowed to work. Still applies. You are not even allowed to go out swimming. You will be arrested if you do, unless you are swimming in a swimming pool in a hotel. There is reference to the destruction of the mangroves along the seashore on the island of Tongatapu. And there are references to the project in New Zealand where they imported unskilled laborers from the Pacific Islands to come to New Zealand and to help them with their development. That still goes, I think, it's still going on now, where Pacific Island countries send their people to Australia and New Zealand to work in factories, to pick fruit and so forth. So some of the references here relate to the kinds of development projects in the Pacific Islands at that time. And so the references are specifically to Tonga, and this expressed my view as a young teacher at USB, and also as a Tongan person who, according to my friends in Tonga, was too influenced by the Palangi education that I went through, and that was why I was too critical of what was happening there. And so this is part of our weaving of our mats, where we try to integrate some of the things we learned as we grew up in our own cultures, as well as the things that we learned outside of our own cultures. And my view about the need to integrate and the need to use the best of our cultures and the best of what we learn from other cultures. It's called Lagakali. Lagakali is a small tree that is quite common in the Pacific, but they have the most fragrant little flowers. Really, I'm talking here to the tree, and people say to me, "Why are you always talking to plants?" And I tell them it's because plants cannot talk back to me. Lagakali, have you heard the latest? The jellyfish at Whangauta swim freely in the wastes of Viola, refuge of our ailing brothers from the north. Hangale flowers will pick no more. Government houses have killed them all. Yesterday I saw a child swimming in a umu. I said, "Why don't you go to the sea?" He just stared at me in silence, then said, "It's Sunday, can't you see?" Must we wear this band of progress, stand in line for the sweat of our brother's brow? Must we now wear trousers and neckties to be respectable? Must you throw the medicinal branch out the door? It will put out roots, and one day the tree will destroy your brick house, you and your sick son. Today I'll polish my son's shoes to the parade, Parliament's opening. He'll stand in the broken pavement, drink the sun's heat, but would not hear the proclamation. National airlines, royal tours, the Arabs, we need their money, but not their religion. Stay, help your father carve heads from the tamanu for your fees and the church. Must I wear this black garb for another day? Grandma is probably laughing in her grave. Her educated son wears leather boots even in the house. Why do you weep, Lagakali? Is it because they lied to you? Or is it because they did not tell you the whole story? You see, the four winds did send me away to bathe in the storm clouds. A commoner with no soul, I journeyed in the gray hair of the sky. But I heard the song of the sea, made my heart strong that I could still find a place. Lagakali, did you begin to wonder whether I would even return? Would you see me again amidst the darkness and the soot of our burnt-out fale? They said that burning is good for the soil, but the trees suffer. They take so long to mature. Black coconut trunks, a dreadful sight. Headless they scorn the corrupted air. The old man in the boathouse is growing weary. He told me that he knew the sea's origin, the moons, the skies, and even the suns. But he did not know why men deceive and women keep on loving them. It was at Halaliku that I met him. Alone he only had the rain and the surf. The land he gave away. They're building runways, hotels, and warehouses on it. It was a stormy day that he paddled away in a borrowed canoe. His son, he said, had gone abroad to work for money. He paid the company for airfares, accommodation, and food, and came home a poor man. Now his house belongs to the development bank. His boat belongs to the chief, and he's working on a deal with the taxman in respect of a sizable gift. Too many people are working for money. The sound of the conch shell haunts me still, like the cry of my unborn child. I remember his face, turning away, trying to hide his grief. The masters of our land have sold our souls to the new religion, moneylenders, experts, and the watchdogs of Vegas. Lagakali, no longer do I see your face adorn our roads and roaming grooms, or perfume the evening sea breeze. Broken beer bottles greet the incoming tides, and grave talk is no more. For the unblinking eyes of plastic flowers stares away visitors from Pulotu, home of our warriors and conversationalists. Pray, give me now a fast canoe, that I may join the fish of the ocean, and together we will weep for the works of the night. Malo apito.